So welcome again. Here we are. Another week has passed, and I hope you're all doing well. Deb, thanks for joining us. Maybe a couple other people will come. I don't know. I know it's springtime and everybody's out and about on a Sunday afternoon. So anyway, today we should motivate to make this time we're spending together beneficial for ourselves and others, by improving ourselves with our knowledge, wisdom. So today I thought I'd take a little different track from the last time. And I have a meditation that was taught by Venerable Suddenly Rinpoche that's called the short drop meditation. Because he feels like us Westerners, we carry a lot on our shoulders and we're really concerned about that. So he created this short drop meditation to help us kind of like, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read the instructions and I'm going to perform it once, and then I'd like you to perform it. So the instructions are: relax deeply, don't hold on to anything, completely let go of thinking and judging mind, while gently maintaining the clarity and knowing aspects of the mind. Now I raise my arms to shoulder height, pause, and then I drop them and let them land where they may, and say, who cares? So what? So ha. So ha is a Sanskrit word, frequently at the end of a mantra, which means so be it. So what? Who cares? So ha, so be it. Whatever happens, wherever you land after dropping your arms, just let it be. Don't do or try to block anything, just rest. There is no need to search for something new or try to achieve some special insight or state. Feel whatever feelings and sensations arise and be lightly aware of them. Feel them naturally and softly, and don't try to change anything. When uncomfortable feelings come up, you can relax and trust them without analyzing or somehow figuring them out. Let them be as they are through feeling awareness while resting naturally in the body. So shall we try it together now? Putting our arms out in front, we drop them. Who cares? So what? So ha. Whatever happens, wherever you land, after dropping the arms, just let it be. Don't do or try to block anything, just rest. There's no need to search for something new or try to achieve some special insight or state. Feel whatever feelings and sensations arise and lightly be aware of them. Feel them naturally and softly, and don't try to change anything. When uncomfortable feelings come up, you can relax and trust them without analyzing or somehow figuring them out. Let them be as they are, and through feeling awareness while resting naturally in the body. This practice can be repeated until you can more fully drop into your body and feelings. Now I'm going to share a tantric Vajra song called Free and Easy, a spontaneous Vajra song. Happiness cannot be found through great effort and willpower, but it is already present in open relaxation and letting go. Don't strain yourself. There's nothing to do or undo. Whatever momentarily arises in the body-mind has no real importance at all, has little reality whatsoever. Why identify with and become attached to it, passing judgment upon it and ourselves? Far better to simply let the entire game happen on its own, springing up and falling back like the waves, without changing or manipulating anything. And notice how everything vanishes and reappears magically again and again, time without end. Only our searching for happiness prevents us from seeing it. It's like a vivid rainbow, which you can pursue without ever catching, or a dog chasing its own tail. Although peace and happiness do not exist as an actual thing or place, it is always available and accompanies you every instant. Don't believe in the reality of good and bad experiences. They are like today's ephemeral weather, like rainbows in the sky. Wanting to grasp the ungraspable, you exhaust yourself in vain. As soon as you open and relax this tight fist of grasping, infinite space is there. Open, inviting, and comfortable. Make use of this spaciousness, this freedom, this natural ease. Don't search any further. Don't go into the tangled jungle looking for the great awakened elephant who is already resting quietly at home in front of your own hearth. Nothing to do or undo, nothing to force, nothing to want, and nothing missing. Emaho, marvelous, everything happens by itself. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about Lama Yeshe's book, Becoming Your Own Therapist, and I'd like to read a little bit from that, and then we can get into a discussion if you have ideas surrounding his talk. So this talk is in the book, Becoming Your Own Therapist, and it's Your Mind is Your Religion section. When I talk about mind, I'm not just talking about my mind, my trip. I'm talking about the mind of each and every universal living being. The way we live, the way we think, everything is dedicated to material pleasure. We consider sense objects to be of utmost importance and materialistically devote ourselves to whatever makes us happy, famous, or popular. Even though all of this comes from our mind, we are so totally preoccupied by external objects that we never look back within and never question why we find them so interesting. As long as we can exist, our mind is an inseparable part of us. As a result, we are always up and down. It is not our body that goes up and down, it's our mind. This mind whose way of functioning we do not understand. Therefore, sometimes we have to examine our minds, ourselves, not just our body. After all, it is our world that is always telling us what to do. We have to know our own psychology, or in religious terminology, perhaps our inner nature. Anyway, no matter what we call it, we have to know our own mind. Don't think this examining and knowing the nature of your mind is just an Eastern trip. That's a wrong conception. It's your trip. How can you separate your body or your self-image from your mind? It's not possible. You think you are an independent person, free to travel the world, enjoying everything. Despite what you think, you are not free. It's your own uncontrolled mind, your own attachment that oppresses you. If you discover how you oppress yourself, your uncontrolled mind will disappear. Knowing your own mind is a solution for all problems. One day the world looks so beautiful, the next day it looks terrible. How can you say that? Scientifically, it's impossible that the world can change so radically. It's your mind that causes the appearances. This is not religious dogma. Your up and down is not religious dogma. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about the way you lead your daily life, which is what sends you up and down. Other people and your environment don't change radically. It's your mind. I hope you understand this. Similarly, one person thinks that the world is beautiful and people are wonderful and kind, while another thinks that everything and everyone is horrible. Who's right? How do you explain this scientifically? It's just their individual mind's projection of the sense world. You think today like this, tomorrow like that. This man is like this woman is like that. But where is the absolute fixed former beautiful woman? Who is the absolutely forever handsome man? They are non-existent, and they are simply creations of our own mind. Do not expect material objects to satisfy you or to make your life perfect. It's impossible. How can you be satisfied by even vast amounts of material objects? Satisfaction comes from the mind. If we don't know our own psychology, you might ignore what's going on in your mind until it breaks down and you go completely crazy. People go through people go crazy through the lack of inner wisdom, through their inability to examine their own minds. They cannot explain themselves to themselves and don't know how to talk to themselves. Thus, they're constantly preoccupied with all these external objects, while within their minds are running down until they finally crack. They're ignorant of their internal world, and their minds are totally unified with ignorance instead of being awake and engaged in self-analysis. Examine your own mental attitudes. Become your own therapist. You're intelligent and you know material objects alone cannot bring you satisfaction. But you don't have to embark on some emotional religious trip to examine your own mind. It's not necessary to classify yourself as a follower of this or that religion or philosophy or put yourself in some religious category. But if you want to be happy, you have to check the way you lead your life. Your mind is your religion. So, seeing this, we have the view of our mind and have to understand that all the sense objects come through the filter of our mind. They're not external in that sense. So we project onto those sense objects our qualities that we have from our own background and mindset. So we need to make sure when we investigate the mind that we understand that relationship, that dualistic mind and the external objects of the world, that there's the external object that appears to us through our sense objects, to our sense consciousnesses, and then how it's actually the internal mind, and we relate to those dualistically, which is where the problem arises, instead of seeing them as a simultaneous arising. So therefore, then we grasp at the sense object, or we reject it, depending on how we respond to it. And these things are what we're trying to understand in our understanding of Buddhist practice. So do we have any questions, Deb? You could type them in if you want. Is this beneficial? I don't know. Lama Yeshe's always great. I find him helpful for basic information and his understanding of how we Westerners relate to the world.
He definitely has a way of speaking about the mind. The very last sentence that you read just hit me hard. You know, we got to watch the mind, because that's where your problems are. That's our, I don't know. That last.
Yeah, I was so lucky to study with him for 9 years. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. Anyway, you know, I've said something here. How do we understand our own mind? So that's the whole practice. Our whole practice is understanding the mind. And so you do that through these gentle steps of meditation in analysis. And one of the things when we hear the word meditation in the West, we think of one thing, and that's just sitting quietly and watching your breath for a while and then doing something. But meditation's based on 3 principles. And the first principle is you have to understand the meditation object. So that means you either hear it or read about it. So you have to get a thorough understanding of what you're meditating on before you can meditate on it. And then the second aspect is where you contemplate that. And when you're contemplating, so that means you're getting a thorough, in-depth understanding of the object you're going to meditate on. And then you grok it, you understand it, and then you can actually contemplate it. So then the third level is where you actually then contemplate on the meditation object. And here, the meditation object we're investigating is the mind itself, and how that can be understood so that we can free ourselves from our dualistic view and reach our own wisdom awareness. So all of us are aware at all times. We have awareness in our dreams. We have awareness when we're working and walking around. We have awareness, but sometimes that awareness isn't paying attention to what's actually going on. So often we'll drive a car on autopilot. You're watching the road in a sense, but you're not consciously steering the car or hitting the brakes or gas. You're just on autopilot. So when we meditate, we want to get through that autopilot mode and get into seeing, what is it that just arose in my mind, and why did I like it or dislike it? So like in the early meditation we did, there's nothing to reject or accept. You're just letting it be. And it's interesting. It's a hard practice to hold. Just letting your mind be in a restful state, relaxed and open and spontaneous. When I was with the Karmapa in Europe back in the 70s, a German reporter asked him, what do you plan to do here? And he said, I haven't a plan, I'm just spontaneous. And it blew the Germans' mind away, because that's not an answer they're used to. I'm just here and I'm doing what I'm doing, you know? And so we have that kind of quandary ourselves, don't we? We have that quandary where we're not sure what we're doing sometimes, and we're not investigating why we're doing it. And so then we end up like confused about what's going on, because we're not clear about why we're doing it and where we're going to go with that. So in the meditation process, you're really spending time trying to penetrate these questions in your mind, like, where did that thought arise from, and why am I attached or rejecting it? And if that's the case, attached to it, what about that? What's the quality of that thought or feeling that makes me attached to it? Because we all have thoughts and feelings continuously. You don't get rid of them when you're enlightened even. They're just there, but you don't react to them strongly like we do when we're not aware of why they're coming up and how they're affecting us. And Lama Yeshe used to have a good saying that I always liked. He said, you know, you look and you think it's like your mind has a ring in your nose, and it says, I like these, but I don't like that. And it takes you all around like that. And you're not clear why that would be happening. And so you're always being pushed one way or the other. And we see that even in regular life things, like, oh, why don't I like that color? Why don't I like that person? Or why do I find that so attractive and interesting to me? So meditation, that's the key. And it's step by step, little bits at a time. So first you have to get the information, then you have to contemplate it. And when you're contemplating it, that can be quite a process, actually, because you need to get the inside scoop, so to speak, before you want to meditate. And then you have an object to meditate on. So they use the mind because we've always got our mind, or they use the breath because we're always breathing, and we can use the breath to gain stability in our mind so we can focus on other objects. So breathing meditation is often used to start a practice because it calms the body and relates to the nervous system directly through the breath control. And awareness is then focused on the tip of the nostrils for the breathing. And then you can calm the mind down and slow the thoughts from arising. And then you can bring up the object of meditation, whatever it be. And your mind and the breath are linked. So we know when we're anxious, you can sometimes breathe tightly. And when you're depressed, you make a sigh and so forth. Your breath and your mind are linked. So we calm the mind through the breath awareness meditations. And then once you have the mind calmed and you can focus on the object, you bring up the object of meditation. And when we try to meditate, you bring up the object of meditation. And then guess what? Within a few moments, it disappears. And so you use what they call the two tools of meditation, which is alertness. Oh, I've lost the object. And then mindfulness, which brings the mind gently back to the object, and you hold it again. Okay, 5 seconds. Oh, it's gone again. What? Alertness says, oh, I've lost the object again. And then you bring it up and you then hold it again with the mindfulness. And oh, 7 seconds, it's gone again. And then that's the practice. The practice is bring it up, hold it, contemplate it, and then when it disappears, become aware that you've lost it. Oh, that thought just came. It's time for lunch. I'm off. Oh, when's this session going to end? I'm off. Oh, I'm hungry. I'm off the object. And each time you do that, you bring it up. Oh, I got my alertness here and it's coming. Oh, there's the object again. I hold it. Oh, we're up to 10 seconds now. That's great. Actually, that's improvement, right? You're improving. And so that's how you do it. Over and over again, you bring the mind back to the object and hold it. And they recommend no more than in the beginning trying to do that for 5 minutes. 5 minutes is a long time when you're struggling, so you don't want to exhaust yourself. And then if you exhaust yourself, then guess what? You're not interested in meditating again. Ah, that was too much. I'm not going to do that. So you want to keep it short and powerful and focused while you're doing it, but no more than 5 minutes. And the meditation teacher, Alan Wallace, has a talk about that where he said, I was doing this long Shine retreat, which is pacification of the mind. And he said, it said in the instructions, 5 minutes. Well, I'm here 24 hours and 5 minute sessions. That just seems crazy. And so he did his sessions, and then he went, and there was a meditation master nearby. And he said to him, so tell me, what do you do in the rest of the time? And he said, oh, I'm just here, happy to be here, relaxing in between the sessions. But see, our mind, our culture pushes us to accomplishment. So we want to accomplish things and we're just always pushing for, the instant coffee culture. I want my results now. There's no patience in our mind. And that was what Alan Wallace was taught by that teacher. Be patient. You're there, you're practicing. What more do you want to do? Be patient with yourself and just relax into it. And, we all have these times where we're just overwhelmed by what's going on around us. And so we need to take that space and make it open that space and see that there's nothing to really do. The time we take to do that, to become open and relaxed, is critical to our well-being and seeing our mind clearly. There's another good story that a student of Venerable Gaelic Rinpoche gave one time, and she said she was an accomplisher, accumulator. So she did all the practices with the mantras and accumulated all the mantras. I've got them all. I'm accumulating. And then she went for a medical exam, and she was given a terminal diagnosis, and she freaked out. So she went to Gaelic Rinpoche, and she said, "Rinpoche, help me. I need something to practice to do because I'm terminally ill." And the Rinpoche looked around and he smiled and he said, "It's too late for that. Let's just go shopping." And it's like, do you understand what that means? In the end, she didn't have a terminal illness. It was a misdiagnosis. But the reaction we have to these things, if you're an accumulator, then you're going to say, "I need to accumulate more practice." And he's going, "Well, if you haven't understood the basis of the practice that you've been doing for these several years, then that's a bigger problem. And it's not going to help to panic at the end." Any questions? No, we're good. I thought I'd read a little more from Lama's.
Deb has a question.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So how does understanding help?
Yeah, so understanding helps because it connects the dots that we're missing. So like I said last week, Buddha, the root of Bud means to be awake. And so right now we're not awake to these realities. And so understanding helps us get a firm basis to transition our mind from sleep to awake. Does that make sense? I think that that's the thing that we're trying to do, isn't to get the ultimate answer at once. It's to step by step, incrementally get understanding of our actual situations. So the author Joseph Campbell, he really liked the Buddhist worldview. And one of the things he said that always stuck in my mind was, he said, so when you've meditated on the truth of suffering and you understand your own suffering state, how can you be relaxed when your own hair's on fire? Wouldn't you be motivated to go jump in the pond and put the fire out? So that's what we're looking at. When you get a little bit of understanding, it motivates you to move further up the path. And that path then will lead to more understanding, and somehow things connect, and then they widen your view of the world. And then you can understand how you're functioning in it, and it improves your basic living standard, basically, your how you can react or not react to all these sensations that we get. Does that answer your question, Deb?
She said yes in chat.
Okay. It's kind of a general thing, understanding, but understanding how it connects together is important, I think. Yeah. I'll read a little bit more from Lama's. So when you check your mind, do not rationalize or push. Relax. Do not be upset when problems arise. Just be aware of them and where they come from. Know it. Know their root. Introduce the problem to yourself. Here is this kind of problem. How has it become a problem? What kind of mind has made it a problem? What kind of mind feels it's a problem? When you check this thoroughly, the problem will automatically disappear. That's so simple, isn't it? You don't have to believe in something. Don't believe anything. All the same, you can't say, I don't believe I have a mind. You can't reject your mind. You can say, I reject Eastern things. I agree. But can you reject yourself? Can you deny your head, your nose? You cannot deny your mind. Therefore, treat yourself wisely and try to discover the true source of satisfaction. When you were a child, you loved and craved ice cream, chocolate, and cake, and thought, when I grow up, I'll have all the ice cream, chocolate, and cake I want. Then I'll be happy. Now you have as much ice cream, chocolate, and cake as you want, but you're bored. You decide that since this doesn't make you happy, you'll get a car, well, or you'll get a house, a television, a husband, or a wife. Then you'll be happy. Now you have everything, but your car's a problem. Your house is a problem. Your husband or wife is a problem. Your children are a problem. You realize, oh, this is not satisfaction. What then is satisfaction? Go through all this mentally and check it. It's very important. Examine your life from childhood to the present. This is an analytical meditation. At the time, my mind was like this. Now my mind's like that. It has changed this way and that way. Your mind has changed so many times, but have you reached your own conclusion as to what really makes you happy? My interpretation is that you are lost. You know your way around the city, how to get home, where to buy chocolate, but still you are lost. You can't find your goal. Check honestly. Isn't that so? Lord Buddha says that all you have to know is what you are, how you exist. You don't have to believe in anything. You don't have to believe in anything. It is sufficient to know the nature of all that. How ignorance arises, how your mind works, how attachment and desire arise, and where emotions come from. As that alone can bring you happiness and peace. Thus, your life can change completely. Everything can turn upside down. What you once interpreted as horrible can become beautiful. If I told you that all you were living for is chocolate and ice cream, you'd think I was crazy. No, no, your ignorant mind would say. But look deeper into your life's purpose. Why are you here? To be well-liked, to become famous, to accumulate possessions, to be attractive to others. I'm not exaggerating. Check for yourself. Then you'll see. Through thorough examination, you can realize that dedicating your entire life to seeking happiness through chocolate and ice cream completely nullifies the significance of what you have been born as a human. Birds and dogs are similar aims. Shouldn't your goals in life be higher than that of dogs and chickens? So I'll stop there, but I decided to share those because to me, that's like, why this becoming your own therapist is checking your mind. And Lama Yeshe's always said that. He's always check up. Why, when you check up, that's what you were talking about. You're looking at, oh, that thought, that emotion arose. Where did it come from? How is it influencing me? And how can I let it go? Let it go, because they don't exist. They don't exist. They just arise. And then it's only when you energize it that it comes back in the back and the back. It's energized. If you just let it go, it disappears, doesn't it? Even thoughts, feelings. Oh, I have that itch. Oh, I'm not going to scratch it. When you're meditating, sometimes you can do that. Oh, I'm not going to scratch it. And then all of a sudden, where'd that itch go? It disappeared. Where did that thought arise? It says, I need to go get something to eat. And if you just abide in it and let it arise, all of a sudden some other thought takes over and you forgot about, I need to go something to eat, something else distracted your mind, or a new thought arose that was more interesting. And see, we're interested in our own thoughts, and that's part of the problem. They're just creations of our mind. They don't come from outside. Anyway, that's about all I've got to share today. If anyone, if you want any questions, I'd love to talk to you guys. How's the weather there?
Well, we've come off the hill and it's absolutely gorgeous. We're over by the lake now.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but I have a question about, those moments of time in between, what you were talking about, keep your mind focused for 5 minutes or 5 seconds. How do you extend that time? Lately, my focus has just been all over the place. And so, I'm looking for tips to kind of extend.
So that's the practice is relax and let go of what is it that you think you need to accomplish there? You know what I mean? That time wasn't satisfactory. That's a dissatisfied thought, right? And so that's what we're talking about here. But it's persistent practice and expanding your time on the object. Go slow, like I said, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. Sometimes they say a minute, and then sometimes they'll say, can you hold it for the time it takes to do a mala of mantras? And that would be quite a long time. And then understanding the stages of meditation like that. But then there's the other types of meditation, like you said, the analytical meditation, where that's not where you're holding the object tight. That's where you're analyzing to get to an understanding of an inferential uh, understanding of the object that you're trying to analyze, such as impermanence or, the perfect human rebirth kind of things. You want to understand them. And so you analyze and bring your mind to focus on those topics that you've studied. Again, it requires studying them. And if you're not clear on the topic, then it's hard to maintain, isn't it? It's like, so you need to spend more time researching the topic and finding out more information, and then you can let your mind, energize that topic. But and it's very interesting when you actually get into a deeper meditative state. You use that continuous mindfulness and awareness on the object, and it can become then 15 minutes or 20 minutes. But even good meditators usually can't maintain a really strong concentration for more than that, 20 minutes. And we have to look at ourselves. I mean, Trungpa Rinpoche said in his monastery in Tibet in the old days, he had 700 monks. 700 monks. And these are people who dedicated their life to the Dharma, right? They're living in a monastery. But he said, out of the 700, I had 70 meditators. 70 meditators out of 700, 10%. And then he said, out of those 70, I had 10 good ones, 10. So that's how hard it is. It's not easy. So these are people living in the vows and living in a monastery. And so it's like that, we have to really be generous with ourselves and say, if I dedicate my 15 minutes to concentrating and I get 5 done, that's great. It's like relax and let it go. It's not an accumulation that way. The accumulation is the practice of putting the mind back, putting the mind back, putting the mind back, because we can't hold it. And part of the reason for that is what we just said. The thoughts, they're not permanent, right? So that's where mindfulness comes by. You resurrect that thought and then hold it again, hold it again, hold it again. Because that's the mindfulness. And mindfulness, cultivating that, we get that through the breath meditation awareness, just breathing and watching the breath. And then you get some kind of form of mindfulness. And then you can apply it to the object of meditation that you want to accomplish. Does that help?
Yes, that helps tremendously. It's nice to know that I'm not the only one.
Oh, no, that's the thing we all do. We judge ourselves that way. It's like, oh, I can't do this. I can't do. And that's, Lama Yeshe talks about that all the time. Poor quality me. It's not them, it's me. I've got poor quality view of myself. We had a woman in England who had been partner with a German baron, and she went around in the Dharma Center there, who looking really dowdy. I mean, really dowdy, like wearing ragged clothes and looking disheveled. And one day, Lama appeared in her room, and he said, "What are you doing? You're a beautiful woman. Why don't you make yourself attractive? Present a beautiful image to the world." And it just struck her that she was like in denial through thinking that the Dharma was a rejection of that. And it blew her mind. So anyway, then a month or two later, I can't remember how long it was, we were over with the Karmapa, and she ended up becoming the Karmapa's Tibetan secretary's girlfriend and traveled with him. Yeah, so and it was because she opened up to who she was instead of suppressing it and having that. So she was almost, why he appeared to, I think, was because she was quite depressed and thinking, this doesn't work for me. And he explained to her why she was suppressing who she was, and that's not the point. That's not the point. That's not renunciation. Renunciation is letting go of the things we think will drive us to happiness and seeing them as actual reality instead of seeing them as deceptions, deceptive reality. So that was one of the more interesting visitations Lama made on people that had a profound effect on them. You know, it was quite interesting. Anyway, that's about it for me. Anybody else? Deb, are you good today? Thanks for joining us.